The early 1970s saw Richard Clapton arrive on the Australian music scene in spectacular fashion.
Girls on the avenue, they're trying to get you in, strolling by with a rosebud smile.
In 1972, Richard released his debut album, Prussian Blue. The following year, he returned to the studio to record his second album. The title track, Girls on the Avenue, was a pop masterpiece and shot to number 2 on the national charts. This was the beginning of Richard Clapton's amazing career.
Don't you slip, don't you slip in love with the girls on the avenue.
In 1975, Richard released his third album, Main Street Jive. But it was his 1976 contribution to a film soundtrack for the film Highway 1 that yielded him his next big hit. A mellow, dreamlike celebration of sun and ocean, Capricorn Dancer again put Richard Clapton at the top of the Australian music charts.
Capricorn Dancer, I'm riding to shelter. Show me a sign, lead me on to the tropical zone.
Then in 1976, Richard released Goodbye Tiger.
We're doing fine in the lucky country, doing all right 'cause we're making money. Down in the lucky country, down in the lucky country.
The opening track, Down in the Lucky Country, was a sardonic dig at the materialism that underpinned Australian life in the 70s. Up until now, the dark undercurrents in Richard Clapton's songwriting had been dressed in a polite production gloss. But with Goodbye Tiger, everything changed. The sessions for the album were emotionally tense, but the songs were great, with the highlights being the title track and the classic, Deep Water.
We used to go down to the beach at night, fireflies dancing in the promenade light. Ah, those rock and roll bands used to really swing, and I'd do the foxtrot with sweet Christine, speaking to me with a gentle hand. Fly on down to Wonderland. Deep water, I'm caught up in it slow. If I'm in over my head, I'll be the last to know. Deep water, deep water.
The film clip itself is also a classic, with then manager Michael Chugg convincing Richard to don a white suit in front of this state-of-the-art set, featuring the Eye of the Tiger.
They closed down the doors to the Trocadero, and I came back looking just like a ghost. Posters are scattered all over the stairs. Nobody reads them, so nobody cares. Kids are retired when they reach 21. It really just ain't my idea of fun. Deep water, I'm caught up in it slow. If I'm in over my head, I'll be the last to know. Deep water, deep water.
After the break, Richard decides it's time for a change of scenery and heads to LA and into the 1980s. After the critical and commercial success of Goodbye Tiger, Richard travelled to Los Angeles in 1979 to record his next album, Hearts on the Nightline. The result was a mixture of LA funk and good old Richard Clapton observation. The album included the singles Thorn in My Saddle, the title track Hearts on the Nightline, and Ace of Hearts.
Go ahead, babe, you're the dealer. I only know what I see. I don't know what kind of hand you're playing, but you got a few tricks up your sleeve. I've seen every face printed on my cards, but I've seen you as the ace of hearts. Ace of hearts. so falls.
In 1980, Richard decided to produce himself for the first time in his career. The result was a moody, critically acclaimed album called Dark Spaces, which contained two more big hits.
Ooh-wee, ain't life grand? Get you $1 and snatch it back out of your hand.
Shelter, you gotta slow down for a while. You've been living so helter-skelter, but somehow losing time.
The early 80s were the heyday of Australian pub rock, and Richard Clapton became an integral part of the scene. By the time he came to record his next album, The Great Escape, he'd become firm friends with Cold Chisel and In Excess. An amalgamation of both bands became his own backing band. The result, I Am an Island, was an all-star lineup that seriously rocked.
Young heart on Paradise Street, I tumble down like a poetry. Oh my, I gotta fly, I stretch up and touch the sky. Up and down with the party clowns, ballroom dancing in sequin gowns. I get so confused, searching for you, babe. How come you keep walking up that way? Oh, oh. Little darling, this is the end. I needed you like oxygen. I am an island, some sucker scrawled. I am an island on a city wall. Oh no.
If one track from The Great Escape is to be honoured, it must be The Best Years of Our Lives, a song that was inspired by a late-night phone call from longtime friend and bass player Michael Hegarty in Los Angeles. The result is an extraordinarily powerful rumination on the passage of time and the inevitability of loss.
Oh, Michael, all the lines are down. It's Australia Day again. Every time the wheel slows down, I think of all my friends. Whatever happened to the days way back? The Bondi lightsaber was always reaching. Standing here in Oxford Street, and the ghosts are howling, and geez, it's raining. I say, don't waste time. These are the best years of our lives. I say, don't waste time. These are the best years of our lives. I wish I had been around when the Bondi icebergs rained. Sometimes I sit and think of it, and I dream of better days. Whatever happened to the days way back in the 1930s? All those endless parties. I'm still too young to understand how it was back then, and the party ends. I say, don't waste time. These are the best years of our lives. I say, don't waste time. These are the best years of our lives.
After the break, Richard continues his relationship with legendary producer Mark Opitz to deliver his 10th studio album. In 1985, Richard released his 10th studio album, Solidarity.
Hey, kid, don't you
also contained this little pop gem.
Into the heart of it, took a long time to find the one. Oh, into the heart of it, I ain't gonna quit until I'm gone.
In 1987, Richard released Glory Road. It was created in an atmosphere of intense creativity, frenetic activity, and marathon partying. Produced by INXS drummer John Farris, from the first note to the last, the album is a masterpiece of concise writing and epic production values.
Some take their problems to the well a while, even though their faith may stumble and fall. Muslims and Hindus and the Protestant can't understand why we can't all be friends. Last night I had a strange dream. There was no politics, just you and me. Too much deceit from politicians' lies. Can't you see that I am on your side? Here we go, down the glory road. Down and out, on the glory road. Here we go, down the glory
Throughout the album, Richard addressed his lyrics to his friends in INXS, by then emerging as international superstars. Many of the songs looked at the insecurities and doubts that come with fame and fortune. Those very sentiments are evident on the aptly titled Trust Somebody. By 1989, it was time for Richard to record a live album with a lineup that featured Michael Hegarty, members of INXS and Cold Chisel, and elements of his touring band. The Best Years of Our Lives served to reinterpret almost 20 years of recorded work. In 1993, Richard decided to produce his own album once again. The result was Distant Thunder.
Distant thunder.
In 1996, Richard recorded the critically acclaimed Angel Town, and then, to close the millennium, released the definitive anthology. It was a collection of Richard's outstanding catalogue of hits, plus a couple of new tracks.
You're so fine, baby, it's time. After all, we're just animals. Heaven knows where love goes, disappears into the shadows. If tonight feels alright, you and me can kiss the night sky. Fly away, we'll escape, far away from this world of pain.
The single, Calling for You, saw Richard co-writing with two old musical collaborators, Guy Delandro and INXS guitarist Tim Farris. The definitive anthology was a huge success, achieving platinum sales almost 30 years to the day since the release of his first album. After the break, we catch up with Richard and talk about his new album.
I think about you all the time. You're becoming an obsession.
sees the release of Richard Clapton's 18th album, Diamond Mine.
Summer in the city, trying to make a living, doing our best to survive. There's never enough hours in the day to stop and feeling really alive.
Now, here's Richard's thoughts.
Obsession's just, I intended it just to be like a pop song. So lyrically, there's not a lot of depth to it.
I was drifting away on a city-bound train, thinking about the girl of my dreams. I could feel my hands running through her hair as she wrapped her arms around me. She's a mystery girl from another world. She's all that I need to escape. And I need to feel her arms around me. I really need to get away. I think about you all the time. You're becoming an obsession. Can't seem to get you off my mind. It's a simple indiscretion.
I like to have something you don't have to think about too much on each album, because so many of my songs are you know, can be a bit on the serious side and a bit meaty. So I co-wrote this with a mate of mine, Guy Landro, who I've written with before. Guy's written with a couple of the INXS guys as well over the years, and he's got a great pop sensibility. So that's about it for Obsession, really.
You're becoming an obsession. Can't seem to get you off my mind. It's a simple indiscretion.
Some Sunny Day is sort of, I wrote really stream of consciousness. It was, I didn't really want to, it sort of just came out one day, and I didn't really think about it at the time I was writing it, but so many people have commented since then that it really sounds like something from the Goodbye Tiger era.
So long I've been trying to make sense of what's going on around us. I've just gotta clear my head. Close your eyes and just imagine this, turning back the hands of time in a never-ending kiss. Some sunny day, like back when we were kids, there's a clear light coming to help us find our way. Oh, mama.
But I can see what people mean, that in its way, it is quite retro. It does sound a bit like, you know, a late 70s Richard Clapton song. But, you know, a bit lyrically, I just think the whole thing holds together pretty well. And I think it's good to have something that sort of, you know, takes you back or makes a connection with my past.
But he'll get his in time when we get him in the light. Some sunny day, like back when we were kids, there's a clear light coming to help us find our way. The city haze in the summertime, the traffic rolls like a serpentine. Sitting down here by the harbor with a six-pack of cold beer, so many thoughts fly around my head and then they disappear. Back in the days when I was young, I found a place where I belong. But there's been so many changes, innocence got complicated. I'm a prisoner of my dreams and this tangled web I've weaved. I lost my way in the city lights. Now I try too hard to make up the time. The journey doesn't end here, no, the end is not in sight. If I keep on digging deeper, there'll be diamonds down the line. Long ago,
Diamond Mine, I wrote, it's a pretty private song, pretty, you know, the lyric of it is, because I'd sort of been out misbehaving at one stage and got home to my wife and a bit remorseful and all the rest of it, and that's sort of what spurred the lyric off. But musically, I was trying to capture this kind of feel that some of the black bands from the 60s in New York used to get. Like, I think they were sort of loosely termed Atlantic Atco sort of musos. It's just got this particular groove to it that I've always really loved. And I really like that about the recording of that song. It seems to have captured that groove.
I lost my way in the city lights. Now I tried too hard to make up the time. Looking back over my shoulder at the shadows of my dreams. Though I can't escape the future, trying to find my way up straight. Though I know it's so far to go, there's so much to do, so much room to grow. The journey doesn't end here. I can make up for lost time. If I keep on digging deeper, there'll be diamonds down the line.
In a stellar career, now well into its 4th decade, Richard Clapton has proven he's a true survivor. Diamond Mine is another outstanding collection of songs, confirming Richard's place as one of Australia's all-time greatest singer-songwriters. Check out the album and keep an eye out for Richard performing live in a venue near you. I'm Nick Bennett. I hope you enjoyed the ride.
Thank you very much.